The Memorandum of Understanding on Port State Control for Western Central African Region, also known as the Abuja MoU, has trained Port State Control officers from 22 countries on upholding ethical practices and combating corruption in the maritime sector. The two-day training, which was organized by the Abuja MoU in collaboration with the Maritime Anti-Corruption Network, MACN, began on Monday in Lagos, Nigeria. In his welcome address, Captain Sunday Omoren, the Secretary General of the Abuja MoU, said the training would bring Port State Control officers up to speed on ethical expectations of the International Maritime Organization, while equipping them to tackle corruption within the region.
Sometimes corruption is being linked to third world countries and the rest. So your best is coming out clean, showing the world, look, I accept this, I appreciate the fact that there could be that tendency, but however, we are getting guided by the basic principles as advocated by International Maritime Organization. And we from the Secretariat, we are also pushing the maritime administrations to adopt penalty system, reward system, feedback system, such that probably could be a case of caught one, if you are caught once, could be a 3-month suspension, second time 6-month suspension, third time is total termination. You can't be involved in post-state inspection. So we're looking at having objective inspections, because like we highlighted the consequences of having substandard ships trading in our region. If you go for unethical practices, you are somehow endorsing those consequences. You are part of the problem. So we're looking at eliminating the problems.
Speaking also, the Associate Director for Global Operations and Industry Engagement of the Maritime Anti-Corruption Network, MACN, Captain Vivek Menon, said improved transparency will amount to increased efficiency in port operations and would impact trade volumes entering the Western Central Africa.
What we see here today is 22 countries from the Western Central African region have come together on the topic of port state control. It's a very important inspection that they carry out to ensure that your goods, if it's avocados or is it milk that you want to buy, is actually brought in a safe manner, is brought in a secure manner. No environmental damage is done. That is why this function of port state control is so vital, so that you and I can get our cargoes in safe context. So this inspection has to also occur in an ethical manner. Professional ethics is the foundation of any form of inspection. So we want to believe that the journey that we have learned from Nigeria and other countries, we would like to share with other countries as well. So these 22 countries, Nigeria is included in the 22 countries, have come together to understand how is it possible? How can we work with ethics, not just have a nice policy that says anti-corruption and anti-bribery. So that is what we believe that the delegation from the respective countries are here to do. And what I would like for them to take forward is to be that change agents that we found in Nigeria, that we found in India, that we found in Egypt and Ukraine. We want them to be the change agents in the respective countries and be our ambassadors for change.
Chairman of the Abuja MoU, Mr. Ebrimo Sila, who doubles as the Gambian Minister of Transport, Works and Infrastructure, called for collaboration and transparency to enhance the technical standards of shipping operations.
Shipping is an important uptaker of our global economy, and therefore the role of port state control officers to enhance and entrench ethical behaviors and conducts in the sector is fundamental and therefore cannot be overemphasized. As the objectives of this ethical and integrity leadership training are to provide an avenue for capacity building of port state control officers, monitoring adherence to the standard operating procedures, it is equally important, therefore, that the laws, regulations, and policies that govern the sector are well understood as they relate to the application of such instruments to the day-to-day administration of the maritime administrations in their implementation of effective port state control mechanisms.
his counterpart, the Nigerian Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Mr. Adegboyega Oyetola, who is the Vice Chairman of the Abuja MoU, emphasized ethical practices as a trade facilitator and reaffirmed the federal government's commitment to fostering integrity in ports operations in Nigeria. Dr. Dayo Moberola, the Director General of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, who was represented by Mr. Fatai Adeyemi, the Executive Director Operations at the agency, described Port State Control Officers as the first line of defense at the seaport. Some key stakeholders who witnessed the opening ceremony during the event spoke with Maritime TV Africa.
Corruption is expensive, and I believe that one of the bane of developments in shipping in Nigeria is corruption. I'm not quoting anybody. What I'm trying to say is that if we can adopt, basic best practices when it comes to leadership, especially in view of the fact that you don't expect leadership to come from the top always, but that individually we can all take up that responsibility of leadership. I feel that that would help to ease business in Nigeria, and also to help give that international outlook that the chamber of that the Nigerian shipping industry is indeed a very viable place to do businesses, and that Nigeria indeed is quite compliant. As an advocacy organization, we work closely with all these associations and also entities who are also very involved with ensuring the best practices in the industry. So we continue to work closely with them.
Well, I think it's critically important in order to achieve the goals and ambitions behind growing blue economy and blue trade across the region. One of the key elements in order to tackle strategy implementation is to provide some kind of a toolbox, some kind of a guiding roadmap in terms of how to work with more standardized methodologies. Because when we work with standardized methodologies across borders, across countries, it makes it reduces barriers and misinterpretations, and it reduces, let's say, time spent on things that will not bring prospect into the economic activity plans that we're actually trying to do together.